shout out to my latest subscribers. I really appreciate you guys' support and passion for security. Hey defenders, welcome back. In this video, I want to install MISP, which is a open source threat intelligence platform, which is really awesome to use to quickly analyze some of our observables that we bring in with some of our alerts, such as IPs, file hashes, domains, and etc. And it basically just serves as a big database that allows organizations to also communicate with each other in real time. So if organization X is getting hit with some attack from some new threat actor, for example, they upload their MISP database, and those IOCs are pushed out to all other MISP databases that are running in various organizations. So it's a really awesome tool to basically serve as just kind of like a huge database full of IOCs that have been previously discovered and are being discovered in real time. So let's go ahead and jump into the install. And so actually in this demo, they have a quick installation guide that I'll link down in the description that is really easy to use. They put together a nice bash script that installs everything for us, which is awesome and is really nice to use. So big shout out to the guys over there and for really making a good product. But let's go ahead and jump into an installation. So I'm actually going to install this on an Ubuntu 20.0.4. They have other operating systems that they support as well. I do a lot of CentOS 7, but in this one I've just selected Ubuntu just to be different, to get a little wild. So let's go ahead and jump into this. I'll throw this over to the side and pop this out. And a little side note, it'll gripe at you if you're the root user trying to install this. So just a side note. So you'll need to create a new either local user account or a user account that's integrated with AD. But I'll go ahead and just copy this wget. I'll cd into opt. I always like to throw my stuff there. And I think by default they throw it. Oh, actually no, they throw it into temp install sh. So if I go into temp, I should see our script. Yep, sure enough we do. And now let's go ahead and execute it. With just that, so pretty easy. Actually, it'll probably grab at me and say I need to, yeah. So just off the bat, there's a few different configurations that you can do. You can just install the MISP core. You can install the MISP modules. So MISP also comes with modules that they also have a GitHub page that they support. But I like to do, we're gonna go ahead and install with the -A. That'll install everything. So I will kick this off. And okay, so it's asking, oh, for my password. So your user account also needs sudo privileges. So keep that in mind as well. So I'll give the password of password123. And this is going to reach out and install. And this installation process will take a while. So I will use some magic to skip ahead anywhere that I need to provide input so you guys can follow along as well. And while that's running, we can look at some other operating systems. They all follow the same script. So same, regardless of what Linux distribution you're installing on, you'll just follow the same two commands to launch that off. So whether it be CentOS 8, CentOS 7, or a later version of Ubuntu. And okay, so here it's saying that there is no user called MISP. You can either create the new MISP user or continue as the whatever user you use to kick off the starting of the script. And I'm going to go ahead and say yes to create the MISP user. So I'll just do a Y there. And it'll continue on. And I think that's the last user interaction the script will ask for before completion. So I will see you guys shortly. And all right, so the install has completed. And now we can go ahead and connect to this guy. So you notice if you don't give it a domain, it'll just the access here will just be nothing. So and you could just connect to it via the IP address that is set to the box. So and if I just run a netstat, I can see that the server is now listening on port 443 for connection. So I'll go ahead and do it ifconfig Copy this guy, and let's go ahead and connect. If I could spell that right. Yikes. 4 times the charm. And okay, so we'll go ahead and advance. And now we'll go ahead and log in with the default credentials here. So where'd they go? Here they are. And then upon the initial login with the admin user, it'll have you change the password. So I'll go ahead and change it to please subscribe. And then it'll ask you to confirm with the current password, which is just admin, right? And okay, so we are now in. So first things first, I like to first enable some feeds. So MISP is able to, and what really makes MISP powerful is we get to bring a ton of feeds to one central location. So we're not having to bounce to multiple feeds to run our analysis. So if we go ahead and go into sync actions here, we'll select the list feeds, and we'll see that these two come by default here. So I'll go ahead and select both of these, and I will go ahead and select enable selected. And this will say, are you sure you want to enable the feeds? And now after selecting yes, MISP is now going out to download the feeds from these guys. And okay, so now that we kicked that off, we can check the status of these feeds by hovering over administration and going into jobs. And here we can see that mine have completed already. So it may take a while, but just be patient and your feeds will complete, and you can always come back and check the status here. We are logged in as the admin account. If you go into administration and list users, here's where we will create new users, and you can see on the left hand side here we could add a user. So you can go through these settings to create a new user. Poking around as well, MISP also has an awesome API. And this allows us to integrate it with other tools such as the Hive, Cortex, and really any tool that can make REST API requests to the MISP server. So this gives us a lot of flexibility and allows us to integrate MISP with a ton of other tools, which is really nice to have. But let's go ahead and check out the feeds and see what events we're now starting to bring in. So if I go back to home here, you'll see that we now have all these events populated. And if your feed is still being downloaded, you don't have to wait for it to complete until you start seeing events. They should start to come in as they're actually downloaded, which is nice. So you can go ahead and hop on over and start to check them out yourself. But now you can see that we're getting a ton of events here, and these events are pulled in from the feeds that we initially started the sync from, and these events are filled with metadata around known APT groups, known ransomware, known malware, and gives us a wealth of information into all of these different events, and it categorizes them for us. So for a specific malware campaign, for example, we can identify command and control servers, hash values of files, known malicious domains that are associated with that, known malicious IPs. A wealth of information goes into them. So let's pop into one and let's see. Like, this one seems interesting. Let's look at this. Laskowskitech.com. So now we're also starting to see metadata around the feed. So if we scroll back up and look at our columns here, we have the creator organization. So as I mentioned, we're syncing all of this data from a lot of different threat analysis solutions, blog posts, other organizations. And so we'll see who is responsible for kind of gathering all the metadata around a specific event and then pushing it out to MISP. So we get that here. The owner org, I only have the one organization within my MISP server. If we go into administration and select list organizations, you see that I only have this one here. But say, for example, you have maybe multiple teams, or maybe you're an MSSP that has multiple customers connecting to it. You can support multi-tenant by creating organizations for your different customers, and then you can administrate them from one single MISP solution, which is really nice. You then have an ID cluster, so kind of some metadata around the specific alert, some tags that it's bringing in. And then if you scroll over, you also see the info, which will kind of give you a little description of what this event details. So here's like a casilla, maybe that's how you say it, I don't know, ransomware attack, indicators and information publicly available. So that seems kind of interesting. Let's go ahead and dive into that. We can click this little eyeball here, or you can just double click on the event itself. And now we're starting to load all the metadata and what's been seen out in the wild around this casilla ransomware attack. And so if we start to scroll down here, we'll now start to see all of this metadata around the alert. So here they're looking at even some command line arguments that have been seen associated with this malware. So maybe this is a PowerShell command that the malware attempts to run to escalate its privileges or reach out to the command and control server. It looks like it's generating a certificate for itself, so that's kind of interesting. So it may be generating a certificate so that it can reach back out to its command and control server, and then that traffic that's going across the wire is now encrypted, which makes it even harder for your forensic analysis team to see what exactly is traversing across the wire. So that's a way for attackers to mask their malicious activity going across the network. So that's pretty interesting. We get a few more of those. We see some. So and here's really what makes this powerful too. We're now starting to see like links to blog posts that give us even more data around this. So if we select this Sophos blog, we see that they have a blog that's writing up this malware, right? And so now we're giving our investigators a one-stop shop of not only IOCs around specific malware or APT groups, but also enrichment such as blog posts, right? Like maybe more information into what this is, you know, who was maybe the group that discovered it, what specifically organizations are they attacking, such as maybe supply chains, maybe national infrastructure such as, you know, power plants. You know, what exactly is this group attacking? So if we can then select this blog post, and now we're linked over to a blog post that details even more information about this type of attack. Maybe this blog post details the kill chain sequence and how exactly this group is getting its way not only into the network, but then once they have an initial foothold, how are they spreading out to the rest of the network? If you start to scroll down, what should customers look for? So they're giving you some pointers on some IOCs that you should look for. They also link some other associated links, and then they list some IOCs down here too. But again, we just watched this process data one. We just saw this process data one. So we're bringing in from multiple sources, and you know, this is a blog post. So now instead of your investigators, you know, doing a Google search for this particular malware family and just seeing what they come across, now we have all this data in one central location, and now we're also bringing in metadata around that, such as hash values for the payload itself, right? We're seeing some malicious DLLs that the malware looks to hijack and take advantage of. We have some links out to VirusTotal. So if we open up the VirusTotal link, we'll see, and look at that. And that's really what makes this is actually a really good example of why you don't want to just rely on one particular threat feed for your kind of underlying yes or no, is this malicious or not. And that's really what makes MISP powerful. We're bringing all these threat feeds in. So if you reflect back to like our video where we had Wazoo make API calls out to VirusTotal based on file changes or file additions, if we would have made that call here, we would have seen no hits. Where when we make that call out to MISP, which we'll do in the next video, so stay tuned for that, we will see that, hey, VirusTotal didn't catch this. But if we look in our MISP database, I see the hash value there. But if I look in the MISP database, so let's go ahead and copy this, and I'll just do a Control F here and list it. We see that hash is here, right? So now we're seeing that, hey, MISP has this IOC within its database, and it's related to this particular ransomware attack, right? Which is really awesome. And you can also, it pulls out related events as well. So if we open this guy up, we'll see also a event that is related to it. So maybe they're using similar kill chain techniques, maybe they're using similar domains or command and control servers, or maybe they're using a similar payload as well, right? So we can link to related events all at the click of a button, which makes this tool very, very powerful and makes our job of analyzing alerts so much faster. We can quickly tell. We're not having now to waste time searching the web, searching blog posts. We're not having to do all that manually. All of that is now done automatically for us, and we have all of these supporting artifacts around it, which is phenomenal, right? And really what makes this so powerful. So now if we see, for example, maybe we saw a file hit one of our servers that has a hash value relating to this. Now, if I copy this and do like a Google search for it, so if I throw it into Google here, let's see what we would come up with. So we are seeing some feeds in different blog pages and threat feeds indicating this particular, if I just did a Google search for this hash. So that's good, but we're still having to manually click through everything, right? Like I'm having to click through this and click through it. I'm having to click through this and see where that's a manual process that takes time. And you, an event, something like malware or ransomware, you want to get a handle on it as soon as possible, right? And having to spend time investigating and researching just gives the malware more time to propagate and impact you even worse. We're here now in MISP, we have all these details for us and we can easily access them. And yeah, I can't say enough about this tool. It is really awesome to combine with your SIEM solution, and it's really great. And you can even do like some graphs and stuff. So if we select like this graph here, we see that it builds out relations, which is really cool. So we can see like this file hash here value was pulled from a VirusTotal report. We have a few other stuff pulled from VirusTotal, which is really cool. And we're now able to see what relationships hash values commands have with each other, right? Which is really cool and looks cool. You can kind of drag around, and you can select different links up here, right? So let's say I want to add a domain, Candy House USA. That sounds like a porn site, but we can see that there's no direct reference to VirusTotal. So this is something that VirusTotal hasn't reported on yet. But because we're able to combine a ton of different feeds and pull them into one single window here, we're able to see that, okay, VirusTotal didn't see this, but another threat feed has seen this. And I know if, hey, all of a sudden, now I can look back in my network and say, okay, am I seeing servers making DNS queries to candyhouseusa.com, right? And that would be another good indication of, hey, this server is compromised as well. And I can even then start to throw up some proactive defenses. So now I can start to DNS sinkhole this candyhouseusa.com. So even if a server is compromised, it's not able to reach back out to this command and control domain, candyhouseusa. I know I'm touching just on the surface of MISP. I just really wanted to kind of introduce you guys to it. A series of videos together that go more in depth into MISP and loading more feeds and some more modules. But in the next video, we will for sure get it incorporated with Cortex so that we can start to make API calls to our MISP server, and we're able to automate that process. So now, because even if I still go home, right, and I'm manually searching through all these, like I don't want to have to waste time doing that either. What if I can make an API call that says, hey, I had this IP address, MISP, do you see this IP address in any of your feeds and events? And if it does, it'll report back to us and link and take us directly to that particular event. So now we're able to make the process even faster, which is even more powerful. So stay tuned for that video coming up next. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I will see you in the next one.